All right, everyone. We are all coming online here at Codie Blocks, and we are excited to get this webinar started. I'm going to start my video so you see who's speaking. Hi, everyone. All right. Just get our other speakers spotlighted here. There's Don, if we get him spotlighted, and Carrie as well. There he is. Hey, now we're all here. All right. Well, welcome everyone. As I said, we are excited to host this webinar at Codie Blocks. Thank you for joining us for our Coding Through Play, How Young Learners Build Big Thinking Skills. We wanted to put something together for everyone to celebrate Computer Science Education Week that is starting next week. And we thought, what better way than talking about the importance of computational thinking and building coding skills through play with our littlest learners. So, as we get started here today, I'm going to ask my panelists, Carrie, Caroline, and Don, to give a quick introduction of who they are, and why coding is important to them in their role. So, Carrie, do you want to kick us off?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, I think. Good morning. Good afternoon. I'm in Houston, Texas, but I'm actually from Corpus Christi, Texas. I'm actually in the airport right now, going to see my son made it to the Final Four, which is a huge deal if you follow college soccer. So we're heading to Virginia. But I'm Carrie Prellis. I'm from the Education Service Center. I've been in education for about 27 years. And I really appreciate being invited to the panel today and excited to talk more.
Awesome. Thank you, Carrie. Caroline?
Hi, I'm Caroline Rosenblum. I've been in education for about 30 years in various roles, working as a teacher, as a math instructional leader, as well as an elementary principal. I have also done some work at the Faculty of Education and have been involved with Mia and Cody show. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. And Don, last but not least.
Hi, Don Moody. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Codie Blocks. Before this, I created Word World, which was funded by the Department of Education, and had very high impact on children's reading scores throughout the United States, as well as a PBS TV show that won 3 Emmy Awards.
Awesome. Awesome. And I am Jess Hall. For those of you who don't know me, I am the CRO here at Codie Blocks. Have been in the space of education for almost 22 years. Working with learners across the country and across the world is very important to me. I've spent a lot of times. I love it. I loved Word World. All right, Brandy. Um, I've spent a lot of time in classrooms and in schools and districts for the last 22 years of my career. Coming here to Codie Blocks was really important to me because I believe very strongly in what it is that we're doing, especially as the world continues to, change and include more technology. I'm going to kick us off today, Don. I'd like you to chat a little bit about what inspired the creation of Codie Blocks, especially with your background in Word World.
Sure. Thank you, Jess. Word World is really where Cody Block started. Working with the Department of Education, you do a lot of research, and then once the results are in for that research, you get to travel the United States, sharing it with some of the universities. And as we were going around showing Word World and why it worked, we went to MIT into the media lab and we met a gentleman named Mitch Resnick who created Scratch, which I believe to this day is still the world's most widely used um, programming language to teach children how to code. And it's basically a drop and drag language. And Mitch saw Word World and he was really blown away, not just by the impact, but also by how easy and playful it was for children. particularly non-readers. And he said, if you could do for coding what you've done for literacy, that would be a major breakthrough. And so I took him up on that challenge. And I thought it was going to be really easy, and it only took 7 years. It's very hard to make abstract concepts simple for preschoolers, but we were able to do it. If I could share, can I share my screen and just show you a little bit? So what we did was we made some manipulatives. We researched those with children for quite some time. And then once we realized that this breakthrough we had working with blocks worked, we went on to make a television show called Mia and Codie, which airs right now on PBS. And I'm just going to show you a 1 minute trailer of that. Just give me 1 second to find that here.
And while you do that, I know we have some friends here who are from PBS. So what I will share is we are on a number of PBS member stations, terrestrially, but we are on PBS streaming. So you can absolutely find Mia and Codie for your littles on PBS streaming. All right, Don, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just going to show you a picture's worth 1,000 words. I'm going to show you what we came up with.
It's time to run the code to make things happen. Run the code to get things done. Run the code to start the action and have some fun. Run the code. Uh-oh, I think this is trouble. Mia here. I make the world more marvelous with code. Here's how the blocks work. Each one is an action for Codie to do. When we put them in order, it becomes a sequence. Ready or not, here I come. Fly with me, Birdie. I'll take the purple one. Found you. Is he good or what? Again. This is so cool. I love it. Isn't that adorable?
So with that, we realized, give me 1 second.
Again. This is so cool. I love it. Isn't that adorable?
Okay, I think it's. So with that, we realized,
What?
1 second.
Again. This is so cool.
Again.
Isn't that adorable?
I think I have too much open on my screen. Okay. So sorry. I think it's. So with. Oh, I see. We realized, 1 second.
Again.
Isn't that adorable?
I think I have too much open on my screen. Okay. So sorry. I think it's. Oh, I see. We realized, 1 second.
Again.
Isn't that adorable?
I think I have too much. I'm gonna have to close off and come back.
Sounds good.
Oh, I see. 1 second. Oh, wait, did it stop?
Again.
Isn't
Nope.
that adorable?
I think I have too much. I'm gonna have to close off and come back.
Sounds good.
Don's looping.
I'm gonna put the bass down. Oh, too late.
Ah,
Again.
that always makes for a good time. This is what happens when you go live, folks. There's always something exciting. We'll give him just a moment to come back online. Yes, I think we were in a Mia and Codie episode. They definitely wanted to be the stars today. Thank you guys. I appreciate your patience. That is 100% for sure. But, as we said, and I probably should have said this early on in the webinar as well, before the end of today, we want to make sure we're leaving everyone who's joined with some materials they can use next week with their students, some new, tools they can use next week. And as I mentioned, Mia and Codie are available streaming on PBS, of course, public broadcasting we love. So please feel free to find us on your local PBS station. I am in Colorado, and I recently went to the Rocky Mountain PBS website, and I was very happy to find us there. So, feel free to do that. And then before we finish out today, we will have we'll also be sharing a lesson plan with everybody that you can take and use next week, parts and pieces of in your classrooms. And then a little extra treat, we'll share all our social accounts because we will be sharing some activities that are available at that time. Melissa, Ali, if you guys can pay attention for Don when he comes back in to make sure we can let him in and also get him back on Spotlight, that would be great. I know we have the waiting room set up, so I want to make sure we can get him back in when he logs back in. And I think while we're waiting for Dawn to come back online, Caroline and Carrie, if I can shift to you both, because I think it's so important. You both have experience in the classroom and experience in school districts and working with educators. Why is early computer science education such an important investment for schools and districts at this point? You guys can choose who goes first.
I'll go ahead and can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Okay, great. Well, I think it's I see every classroom as truly a portal where kids get an opportunity to enter into new opportunities, and teachers can provide that opportunity. And sometimes I think if our teachers aren't comfortable with certain things, then they don't provide that opportunity. And so things like Codie blocks and other coding games for youngsters provides that opportunity with ease, especially the way Codie blocks has created a very tactile tool to help teach coding. And so I think it's so important to provide those opportunities for students on a regular basis, but also provide teachers with tools that make it really easy to provide it in the classroom. And it's so much fun. When kids are exploring and having a good time, they tend to try things that they typically wouldn't try. And so I think it's important that we understand that play is so important. So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it also develops the computational thinking, the problem solving, the creativity, because they could actually create different sequences, pattern recognition, and that whole logical reasoning, which really builds that foundations for numeracy and literacy. And it's something that's easily integrated into other subject areas. So with the Mia and Codie show integrating media literacy, kids love the storytelling. They're very excited. They learn about the characters and their relationships. So that whole character development really appeals to them. And because of that, I think combining it with the technology, with the blocks, it makes it very exciting for them.
absolutely. Absolutely. Especially with the blocks. Don, welcome back.
Hi again. So sorry for that.
No, that's what I see, when we go
So
live, things
sorry for
happen.
that. So sorry for that. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
We added to the fun of the live. We moved to the question of why early computer science education is such an important investment for schools and districts. I don't know if you want to key into that or share a little bit more of what you were sharing before with Mia and Codie.
Um, you know, what I did want to cover was certainly the topic of play and why it's so important. And that what we're really doing is not sugarcoating something, we're imbuing it. And so I'll go back to Word World for a moment. And this is a cow from Word World, and you can see it's a COW. And so the play and the learning are imbued. You must play with it to get the learning, and the learning has a great play result. And so we do that in the television show as well. Um, there's a saying in educational TV, put the put the story, put the education on the plot line. And at Mia and Codie, we say, put the education on the joke line. because kids really remember the jokes. And so one of the things we did, and I don't know, I assume everybody's seen these, but like if you get these, the blocks are very similar to what we learned working in Word World, where you're basically building a story. And to the extent that that story could be fun, like hands up and dance, to the extent that the story could be fun and provide fun, that's the key. That's the breakthrough that this product has. It creates really these aha moments for children. And this idea that play and learning are separate, I think is mistaken, because really it is through play that we see children reach and go beyond their zone of proximal development. It's through the experimentation and play that they get these big leaps forward in their learning. And so the product is meant to do that. And we specifically focus on the hands-on piece of the product for a number of reasons. One is that it slows the children down and they have to think more. When you put a child on an app, if they just tap like crazy, they're bound to get something to happen, but they don't really know how they did that. And this idea of holding these blocks in your hand and having them almost be like the power of control. And for little kids, control means so much. The power of control to just drop that in and watch what happens. It sinks in more deeply where the learning came from. Um, and so a lot of what we've done is thought about play in the way Froebel thought about play when he brought blocks originally into the kindergarten classroom. How is play and learning the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, as you said, huge for children. Absolutely. When you watch them do, I watched it with my own niece and my nephew. They put the blocks in, they get the character to move across the screen, and my niece is young. Literally today is her third birthday. And playing with her with this, watching her as like makes that connection when she puts the block in and she hits play and off he goes, to see how her experimentation in learning really just like lights up her whole face. It's huge for kids, huge. Which actually takes me to my next question. It's funny, I was thinking about as computational thinking fitting into broader instructional goals, but really it's all of this. It's the play, it's the safety in experimentation, the persistence, the computational thinking. How does that fit into those broader instructional goals for early childhood and elementary learners? Whoever wants to take it first. Caroline?
Yeah, I think it's, everything that we had said before. One of the key things that I really like about this tool is that it allows kids to make mistakes in a very controlled environment. And that making a mistake and then learning from it, because there's feedback, whether it's feedback when they're using the blocks, if it's, through the app, if they're in a whole classroom and the teacher is doing a guided whole class lesson, there's automatic feedback. And, even the TV show, Mia makes mistakes, but, she's confident and is willing to try and take that risk. And I think that development of risk taking is really such a key piece, because as we get older in the grades, particularly in the intermediate grades, we start to see especially with girls, that risk taking start to decrease. So starting early is really important. Make the mistakes, know it's okay, and know that if you try something, something will happen.
Absolutely.
Totally agree. And problem solving is also such a big part of computational thinking. And I was so thrilled to see in the in the Codie that Mia was there. It's a female, it's a girl, problem solving with her little brother. Because I find that a lot of females, girls they don't really, go towards the coding realm. But in the younger grades, if you make it to where it's for everybody, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from, you can learn the language of coding. And computational thinking is in our everyday life.
Yes.
And I've also found that students that understand how to code, also it helps in behaviors. We actually took a group of the Codie blocks to a behavior classroom that are very high functioning students, but they have a lot of behavior issues. And it was amazing to see how the kids reacted to exactly Don what you said. It's they had control. They got to watch and make mistakes without any getting into trouble or having a red pen. They were eager to touch it, feel it. The colors are bright. Um, and it didn't matter who they were. They could actually code. And when you tell them they're coding, it makes it seem like, oh, wow, this is really like high level stuff, you know? So they get super, super excited. But when you start at a young age and talk about coding and computational thinking, then by the time they get to middle school and high school, they're like, yeah, I know how to code. I mean, it's like not a big deal. Where now, if you asked people, they'd be like, "Oh, that must be really hard. You know how to code." So I think it puts everybody on an even playing field and provides again that opportunity for students.
And just a quick shout out to WXXI in the audience there. Hi, PBS.
Don, do you want to add anything additional? I know, the play-based has been so big, for you guys, or for us rather, we talk a lot about the broader instructional goals and the impact that it has on learners and their character and life skills and their, even development of other skills, math, science, language arts, some of the thought process behind putting that together.
Yeah, sure. I think there's two other things worth mentioning, one on the child side and one on the teacher side. On the child side, um, the research that we did with the Department of Education during the Word World years really showed that these children were highly literate before they could read and write. It's those abstract symbols that get in their way. And, making it clear what those abstract symbols actually do is the big breakthrough. And so we did a lot of research with children with iPhones and emojis back then. And believe it or not, you give a 2, 3, 4 year old your iPhone and open up the emoji keyboard, they will tell you stories. You need the patience to read the story and understand it, but they will tell you stories. They are highly literate before they can use the abstract symbols. And so I had remembered that from the word world days when it came to this. And um, there's this idea now that coding may be replaced by prompting. And really, what these icons in Codie blocks do is they give you the ability to prompt,
Mhm.
and by prompting Codie, you can watch what happens. And so the idea that you have to have complete language skills is not true in order to learn computational thinking skills. In fact, the breaking down of a big idea into smaller ideas and building from a small idea to a bigger idea like sequencing can easily and does easily come before literacy does. And the other thing that I wanted to point out at the beginning, I'm not sure, did you show the video of the portal that has the videos and the lessons and everything, that 30-second video?
No, we'll probably do that at the end of the our discussion here.
Okay, I would just say that one of the big breakthroughs that we discovered in doing the research, and we researched in schools all over the United States and Canada, and in fact, in one of Caroline's schools, she was the principal in Toronto of, the teachers would come up to us after the research and tap us on the shoulder and say, if I knew coding was this easy, I would have brought it into my classroom sooner. And that was a big aha moment for me as an adult that I wasn't just building this for kids, we were really building this for teachers and the entire classroom environment. And so when you show that video at the end, it'll show the learning that we inadvertently got from teachers along the way.
It's so funny you say that. I think it was when you were dialing back in, but Carrie shared that before, sometimes teachers are hesitant to show something to students because they don't have the experience, and then that limits the opportunities that the students have to see something new. But because of the support and really, in terms of a resource, that's what you want. You want to provide teachers with that support so they can just put it in to their classroom and get it into their students' hands without feeling stressed about it.
and make it as easy for them as it is for the kids.
So easy. Yeah. Yeah, so easy. The next question that I have for you guys, and I think you've all mentioned a little bit about this, especially Carrie, your story about your behavioral learners, but hands-on play-based approaches for engaging our younger students. This is a big we're in an environment now where there's a lot of concern about screen time for students, especially our littles, especially after the pandemic. What is so important about actually getting them up, whether it's through the physical blocks or through other physical activities? How does that help them learn and really pull those concepts together without having to be on a screen all the time?
Well, teachers like flexibility. They like activities where they can have students work on it individually or in pairs. They want to be able to set it up as a learning center. They want to be able to do something with the whole class. And that's what I love about this and the activities is that a teacher can choose. So it's not meant just to be delivered in one particular way. There are multiple entry points for the teacher themselves as to how they want to be able to deliver it. Special needs in classes is always a big concern. Here in Toronto, our kindergarten classes can go up to about 34 kids. And when you have a lot of kids with very different needs, it sometimes it's hard to manage. So sometimes you want to do something whole group. Sometimes you want them to be able to be at a center where they can use the app and the blocks, but with headphones on to be able to block off all the noise. So there's multiple ways that you could deliver it, which is what the teachers really liked. I think one of the things that really stood out for us was that we had the giant dock, that magnetic dock that was put on the board. And teachers love that because when they're watching the show, they could ask questions in between. They could stop the video. They could create the sequences when Mia's creating it, and when Mia's trying to think about what's the next sequence or what's the next block that we can add. Everyone else can participate. So it's very, very interactive. So it's exactly what Dawn has right now.
Sounds
And
opposite like
the
FAO Shores.
that's That's right. And the kids love to run the code with the, green button. But with that are the blank ones. And that's where the creativity comes too, because when they're creating a sequence, then they could create their own blocks and then, develop their own sequence. So in one case, we had the students develop a dance sequence for the teacher to do. And the kids had so much fun, and everyone just wanted to press that button and see how the teacher was going to move. So that was very exciting. And to see the kids very excited about it, that just melts my heart.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think that
absolutely.
also speaks to
Yes,
giving children
it's perfect.
power. Sorry.
Sorry, Don, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I just think it speaks to giving power back to the children. When a child can come up and put this on the board and press this green button, and the teacher has to dance because that's the contract. These children go crazy for that. It's an engagement engine as much as it is a learning tool, but it's also still imbuing play and learning together at the same time. When you think of children's play patterns, if you can combine their play patterns with learning, those are really the holy grails in learning. Go ahead, Carrie. I'm sorry.
Well, and this is a perfect example of blended learning. And that's what I teach teachers how to leverage technology in their classroom. And that is what I've been advocating for is you have to take a blended approach. And that's what you guys are talking about. You have the actual technology tool, but then you also have activities that are offline that allow for group discussion, partner work, and then physical play and activity. And so I think there's a huge misconception out there that if you're using technology, it's too much screen time, or you're going to have all these poor babies on Chromebooks or on iPads all day long. And that's simply not the case. It's that you have to have a true balance. And that's what blended learning is. So Codie Blocks does an excellent job of providing the tools for teachers to really utilize that blended approach.
Yeah, there's also an interesting, I think, skills transfer there. Like they start to see if something happens on the screen and then I can replicate that in real life. And now I actually understand how to put these things together in a sequence, of events. And I understand that these, images or these icons have effect. It really changes that for a student. It makes it very, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, it just becomes really tangible for them.
Don't
Yeah.
forget their kids, they're also getting to show off.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
they are. Well, one of the things that that we also did was take some of the activities and make it what we call life-size coding. And when you make it life-size, it's very kinesthetic. They use their whole bodies. So we would have a large grid, and one student would be Codie, and then the others would program Codie as to where to go to pick up the juice box and drop it off in the appropriate recycling bin. So we've included some you know cross-curricular items, and also just to have kids aware of the environment and get some teaching done in that way. So it's not something that's considered an add-on, but something that's really naturally integrated into the curriculum that they're learning, and to help them develop that citizenship and responsibility as well.
Yeah, it really does become very cross-curricular in that sense. I am a little sad for those of you on the call. I spent a week with Caroline a couple of weeks back at a conference and she had her life-size mat. And I'm a little sad we didn't do too many coding exercises where you moved us around the board. That would have been a lot of fun. Oh, very real for teachers, very real. So we're talking a lot about all of these different components and obviously Codie Blocks were the hosts of this, but if we're talking computer science education week is next week, or as everybody colloquially knows it, hour of code, right? We're thinking about hour of code. And this often is directed toward our older elementary learners or middle school learners, but there's some really good concepts that can work from this for our youngest learners. If we want folks to think about computer science, for their youngest learners next week or just in general, where is a great place for them to start if they don't know where to start, both at the district level and, at the school and teacher level? Anyone can go.
That's Yeah, I
Yeah.
was going to say that's a great question. And right now, I've been working with librarians across our region, and we're really trying to build the librarians up to be those the media hubs and media centers, and really building and coding as one of the stations. And so, if they go to their, a lot of librarians are moving in that direction. If you go to the Future Ready framework, if you're a librarian out there, or if you support librarians, there's a whole section with Shannon Miller, and she has a whole thing on how to introduce coding to students at all ages. So I would, number one, make sure that your teachers and your librarians have the resources. And number two, look at that Future Ready Shannon Miller website, because she has lots of great opportunities there. Also, big shout out to learning.com. Learning.com is a great program as well. And that's what I use a lot to kickstart coding and different things for students in my district. And they actually loved, we had even middle school students that would finish their work quickly just so they could get on to do the little monkey and the bananas and the turtle and all that good stuff. So learning.com is a good place to start as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I agree a lot with what Carrie had said. I think that whole co-teaching with the classroom teacher, with a STEM teacher, with a teacher librarian, really makes a difference. So if a teacher is not comfortable Kindergarten teachers are great. Most are comfortable with the media literacy. So the television show, they can start at that point if they're not comfortable using the app at that point. But when they're working with a STEM teacher or the librarian who is more comfortable, together they'd be able to reach those goals. And then also the one who's got more experience with technology would be the mentor for the teacher who is new to technology. Another piece that we did when I was a math instruction leader is what we call JPEL, Job Embedded Professional Learning. And we would co-teach with the teachers to show how certain tools and concepts were delivered in the classroom with the kids. And we would invite other teachers from other schools to come watch during that lesson. And it was so powerful because sometimes in a workshop, teachers will say, oh, this is not going to work with my class because my class is different and these are all the challenges that we have. But when they actually go into the classroom, another classroom, and see it happening in real time, and how the, presenters or the co-teachers are dealing with the challenges that they predict that they may have, then there's such a wow factor to it that they'll say, oh, I guess maybe I can do this in my class. And then it starts creating that collaboration within the school. And, when you start having everyone working together, it just builds more excitement for, the staff and the students.
Yeah, I think that's a huge piece is the everyone working together becomes very much part of the school's culture. Don, anything you want to add here?
Well, obviously, I would say watch on PBS Passport at WXXI. Um, but I will say the other two things that did come to mind is YouTube is a great resource if you type in coding for kids. It's really a great resource. And there are videos, but you can do this at home where like a father and son make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and they turn it into a coding activity. And the son reads the instructions on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to the father, who follows the instructions exactly. But if you follow them exactly, they might not work because you might leave out unscrew the cap to the peanut butter jar and just put the whole peanut butter jar between the bread. And so there are fun things that you can do at home just using your imagination. It could be, and by the way, you could get your kids to fold their laundry for the first time, or even a good routine for brushing their teeth. If you just use your imagination a little bit and break down a big idea into small steps, like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or folding the sleeves and then folding the shirt in half. I don't know the one for brushing your teeth because I still haven't grown up yet, but I'm sure there is one.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there are a lot of resources. It's funny you brought up the peanut butter one. I just saw a video on one of the socials the other day where the teacher was doing exactly that and she had peanut butter spread all over her arms. It was really, really amazing. I think when it comes to educators in the classroom, the creativity is often unmatched and maybe, I don't know, I feel like maybe a lot of teachers sometimes feel like they don't get to be as creative as they want to be, but the moment you unleash the creativity of educators, amazing things happen. So I have a bonus question because I feel like this is the question on everybody's mind these days. AI. How does AI impact how we teach, why we're teaching this? Like, what's the importance of what we're doing, in terms of preparing students for AI? Not that I am at all suggesting that our youngest learners should be on ChatGPT. Um, but the reality is that, depending on where we wind up with AI, it will be in some part of our daily lives, most likely. Why is this so important to work with our youngest learners now to prepare them for that?
I could go first on that one if you'd like.
Yeah, go for
Um,
it.
I'd like to first say that while we want to talk about AI and how things will change, one thing that I've noticed is how things don't change. And no matter what, children need play and they need learning. And that's not going to change. It won't change in 5 years from now. It won't change in 20 years from now. And AI won't change that. And so the idea of making things for children, manipulatives or not, that engage play and learning where they're imbued with each other is always going to be important. And in this age of AI, what we're really doing is teaching children how to think better about what's in front of them. And so it's not really coding it's an interesting word because we're not really teaching a programming language like Python or C++ plus plus or anything like that. What we're really teaching are basic skills that are getting our children AI ready. There's this whole move for AI literacy. Again, I'm always the believer, start as young as possible with any literacy because that's when the brain is ready for it. And so what we're really doing is we're teaching children how to prompt AI, whatever that means, whether it's going to be on a keyboard or with your mouth in the future, or maybe just thinking about it way down the road. But we're teaching them how to think about their prompts so that AI is working for them instead of them working for AI. And I think that's the most important work that we can be doing. I'll leave it up to Carolyn and Carrie to take it from there.
Yeah, I agree. I think to use AI effectively, and I've been thinking about it in terms of the very, very young children, what is it that they need to know? And it's really about asking the right questions and developing those questioning skills. Like, I think that's really key. And there's a difference between asking questions to optimize the learning versus questions to just give an answer. And, I think part of what we want to do is, really kind of ride on the fact that kids at that age, at preschool and kindergarten, are so curious about everything. And, that's the time, when they say, why is the sky blue? Well, we could answer that as educators or as a parent, or we could say, well, why do you think that the sky is blue? So really having them to question their own thinking, to know what kind of questions to ask that would develop their own learning, is something that I feel even with the tool when they're moving the blocks and they're creating these sequences, well, what if I do this? What will happen? I don't know. And they'll try it, which is great because that trying is really a big step. They could just ask, AI eventually at one point, give me the sequence. But, it's not as much fun, the kids will find out. And then also we want them to be able to know that, okay, asking the right questions, will get us further later on.
And just to add to that, two names to write down: Chris Miller and Holly Clark. Chris Miller and Holly Clark have done a lot of research, and Holly Clark has globally gone all over to really look at AI with just students at all ages, and how teachers can really use AI and teach awareness. But I go back to the teachers. I think the awareness piece is huge. I spent the last 6 months doing AI sessions with teachers because teachers are a little worried. They're a little scared. They always start with the whole cheating aspect. But guess what? Cheating will happen no matter what, right? But I really encourage teachers out there to get educated because you can't educate your students until you feel comfortable with what AI can do. But there's a lot of good research out there. There's a lot of good books out there that can help teachers understand when to use it, when not to with students. But let's face it, a lot of our technology applications now that we all use have AI now embedded in it. And so students at all ages are going to be and already are exposed to AI on a regular basis. So we truly have to educate our students so they understand what AI is and they don't fall to victim to weird situations or uncomfortable situations. So I think number one, education is key for all students. And number two, we have to support our teachers because now they have AI to deal with as well. And so we want it to be a friend, not a foe. And so educating everybody is just super, super important.
Yeah, I think that's really key. The just was talking about it the other night, the fact that we've put phones in the hands of all of these younger children and didn't really give them a lot of guidance on how to use them and what to access. And, when you think about how powerful just the phone is these days, I mean, it's more powerful than what we used to put the first people on the moon. And so, when you think about that and to your point, making sure students are educated and understand the skills and understand kind of what's happening, all starting from the youngest level, like again, developmentally appropriate ways to start to bring the students' awareness up is really, really key. Well, and it's a big question for everyone. I think every day I walk into a school, well, AI, AI. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to answer that. Um, I would like to shift this to Q&A from our audience. And so I'm going to give everyone a few moments to pop some questions into the chat. Don, do you want to go ahead and share the 30 seconds or 30-second Codie blocks while everyone thinks about their questions? And
I
I'm
will try to do that without echoing. Give me 1 second,
All
please.
right. And then while he does that, I am going to go ahead. I know at the kind of earlier on, I shared that we're going to be sharing a lesson with everyone. So I am going to go ahead and put that link in the chat so you have access to it while we get the commercial running and while you're thinking about your questions for our panelists.
Okay, here we go. Share.
It's going to work this time.
Of course it is.
I believe in you.
Run the code!
Blocks for students. Lesson plans for teachers. Videos for the whole class. Spark curiosity. Computational thinking made easy.
And they don't even know they're learning advanced computational skills and problem solving.
It worked.
Hey, I knew it would work this time. Well, first question, which I really like, so I'm going to take, saw the possibility to get Codie blocks for a month. How many kits can we request? Barbara, we have been doing it with one kit because most of the folks who have been requesting have been a teacher, but I will follow up with you after our call to chat a little bit more about what it is that you would like to do, because maybe we can be a little creative. How about that? You're welcome. Oh, this is a quiet group today. Oh, here we go. Thanks, Gordon. We got a question. How much time does it take to implement a program like Codie Blocks? Is it daily, weekly? Who wants to give that? I'd say maybe Caroline is a good person to start with there.
Yeah, I would say it does depend on the program. Again, it's not something that's made to be an add-on. It's something that is to be integrated with the classroom. I've seen teachers use it where they show the TV show every day. They're showing an episode. Some of it is just to watch it. Some of it is actual teaching of a very specific concept. Teachers will have learning centers set up for a month. So they might have a particular learning center. One could be a coding center that they're going to have all year. So in that case, they would be running that all year, but they'd be doing the unplugged activity or the app just when the kids are using the learning center. So that the beauty of this is that you could integrate it however way you want in the program that you currently run.
And it is modular. While it's scaffolded, it is modular. And so If all you have is 15 minutes in a classroom in a day, it is possible to run it for 15 minutes in a day. In fact, the episodes are at an intentional length so that you can make it through a whole episode and still give out a lesson to the classroom to run for the day.
Excellent. We got another question. How does the show factor into the lessons?
I can answer that. So way back when I made Word World, it got used by teachers in classrooms like crazy without anybody telling them to do it. It was amazing. And when I discovered that, I started going to the classrooms and watching them use it. And inevitably, they made their own curriculum. I mean, teachers are amazing, and they made their own curriculum. And what they would do is, I can't even remember if they had whiteboards or they were still using TVs, but they basically would play a part of the show, then pause it, and then ask questions to the classroom, collect those answers, and then play it again. And it was quite cumbersome for them to get through the whole episode, but they did, and it ended up being a great learning tool. And so what we've done here at Codie Blocks is made that part much easier. It's the full robust episode that you get on your local PBS member station. However, it automatically pauses at the key learning moments and provides to the teacher in the classroom a question for the classroom. That question raises engagement dramatically. All the hands go up, and then it automatically begins to play again so that you can make it through the whole episode. So it is the episode as seen on TV, but it's actually broken down to its curricular components to be used in the classroom.
And I
Awesome.
just wanted to add that that there is a lesson for each episode. And so when the kids are watching a particular episode, then they'll be able to see a lesson that's attached to it. And each lesson has a couple of unplugged activities as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Barbara, I want to get to your question in just a minute, and I will share my screen so we can do a very quick overview. But I do have to chuckle on something Don said when he was talking about teachers using Word World in the classroom. Kid you not, a few weeks ago, I was on a hayride and I was talking to somebody just randomly. And I said, oh, this, the product I work for, it's founded by the same founder who created Word World. And this random person I had just met gave me a whole long story about how she used Word World in her classroom. So it's like, oh, it really is everywhere. All right, so let me share my screen. Application window. Nope, I want to share my screen. This one. Okay. All right. Hopefully you can see the lesson. So Barbara asked a question, can we see the platform? And so I just wanted to do a very quick overview of the platform. We have lots of opportunities to view it as folks are getting into it. But I've logged in as a teacher. What you can see here, I've got my lessons. That's the first page that the platform opens to. Getting started actually provides an in-app walkthrough for our educators as they're getting started. Again, it's that key piece of ease of use and teacher support that's really important to us. And we know that there's not a lot of instructional time, there's not a lot of planning time for you to have to reach out to us and ask us a lot of questions, about how to get started. We are happy to answer them, but we know that that's not a reality of today's classroom. And so we've provided a lot of support for our educators to get started. And then our dashboard where our teachers can log in. They have the app login code, so you can set the app up for your students. It's a separate, they have an actual app for tablets and Chromebooks. Classrooms, easy classroom management. You can add your students and just see your license information. If I go back to lessons, here is what Caroline was just talking about, where once I click into the lesson, I have the video, it runs through, you see where it has these little dots. This is where the pause is, where I have the discussion questions. I can show this to my whole group of learners in the classroom. And then down here, I understand the objectives in different content areas. I've got my discussion questions here. Again, just another layer of support. The coding activities are here that show what the students are going to work on that match with this lesson when they're in their app. some just simple assessment questions, and then a whole host of downloadable files. So the lesson plan, the discussion questions, and you'll actually see this in the lesson link that I provided in the chat, the app solution, and then some really fun unplugged activities. So each one of our lessons is structured in this way where you've got the video with the discussion questions, you have some additional assessment questions, you've got these unplugged activities and downloadable files, and unplugged activities are great because you can do them in the class, you can do them whole group, small group, individually, you can send them home, so students can work on these coding activities and develop these skills, whether or not they have access to a device or internet when they're at home. So all of this is packaged together in a very easy to use platform for our educators, and really easy. I mean, like I said, it opens up to lessons. So you log in and you are ready to go. All right. Let's see. I've got a couple of other questions. Delisa, yes. I love that. She uses Codie Blocks as part of her STEAM program for littles. Love that. And Barbara, rostering available through Clever. I am not going to get myself into trouble. I know our head of product is on the call here, but I will say we are working towards that. I'm just going to give a generic answer that that is the future for us. So I don't get into trouble. All righty. Well, we are coming up right to the end of the hour. Caroline, Carrie, Don, thank you so much for taking the time today to chat with us. For all of our participants, we appreciate that you are here and joining us on this journey. Let me just share this last little screen. As I mentioned earlier, on our social media accounts next week, we will be posting some additional activities. So please feel free to follow us on social. We've got an Instagram account, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. That way you can have access to the activities that we're posting next week, and any other fun things that pop up for us throughout the year. Again, thank you all so much and have a wonderful, wonderful day and holiday. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.